Right, we're live. We're live now on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. Everyone's watching on it. Give a round of applause to all the people watching on YouTube. Most of the people here have had curry. There's a table or two that haven't yet finished their curry. Dr Bob Gill is slowly eating. He does 20 chews for lentils even, apparently, because it's more healthy that way. See, but we're going to do some speeches now. People are going to speak. The cameraman Carlos is asking if people could speak here because he can't move around. So if people do want to speak, you'll need to come up onto this sort of platform, which doesn't exist. But look, the first person who we're going to get to speak is one of many who have been arrested by the police in the most horrific way, with no real explanation, no justice, and there's so many people, I know in this room there's many people who have been treated abominably by the police. And when she was arrested, the picture of her being arrested got a lot of attention, and also she's also known to many people because she was on the Big Brother, if you've seen Big Brother, and she was famously, for me anyway, I was just behind her at the Labour Party conference where she told Starmer actually what she thought about him. And I have to say that she is, she's been to every demo and protest I've been to. She's always there, and we all know her. I'm sure most of you know her. Carole Vincent. Round of applause for Carole Vincent.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I'm not going to do a speech, actually. I hope lots of people here are organising stalls and making people aware in their communities about what is going on with the government and the failure to support and pay for disability benefits in this country, and the fact that they're choosing to actually spend our money on war and genocide instead of actually making sure most people are actually able to be in their homes and safe and get what they need. And we need to understand as well that our NHS is not free. We've all paid into it so that it is a safety net for when we need it. Our social care system is there for when we need it. We all pay into it. And so what I've done is I've written a poem, and it's called Organising. There were tables and placards and leaflets galore, T-shirts with slogans, but so much more. Discussions with locals out on the street, those we may never otherwise meet. What was it we had to draw so much attention? A petition to the MP, who it seems has no intention of speaking up and speaking out against the government's disability benefit cuts. For those most in need to keep what they have, and that's not out of greed. It's not to get more, it's simply to exist. But the MPs are keeping quiet when there's really no need, as they're voted in as a local MP, but people keep asking, what are they doing for me? So whilst the unions and local voluntary groups stand up for your rights and unite to support you, the Labour cuts will kill the disabled and poor. Children will starve and pensioners can't keep warm anymore. It's no longer good enough to say nothing at all. So urge them to vote against the cuts to disability benefits, to speak out and stand up for the community they represent. Because if they cannot do this simple thing, away from them and Labour, the votes will swing. My concern would then be that the pendulum will move to the far right to reform. Then we're in real trouble, as it will start to dawn. That division, racism and poverty will rise even further. As Farage and his company grab more seats from the centre ground, people really need to understand big business will benefit climate chaos will get much worse. Privatisation will drive the NHS into a hearse, and we'll all be paying more to see a doctor or nurse. The LGBT community will be attacked, and religious intolerance will amass as fear in every corner of our country is approaching, and the rumbles of war are encroaching on our lives as they are in Palestine and Ukraine and far more around the world today. So write to your MP, hold them to account, and ask them seriously what they have to say, because when it comes to polling day, they won't get our vote, will they?
Carole Vincent, round of applause for Carole Vincent. And you know, I'm delighted that we've got along with us today. We've got Dr Bob Gill, who has taught me, and I'm sure many of you, so much about what's actually happening with the NHS, because the way they try and deceive us with their whole PR exercise of spin and Wes Streeting, you know, I mean, it's this sort of false thing about the Tories, and you know, they don't care about the NHS, but we care about the NHS, and then saying Reform don't care about the NHS, but we know that Labour is selling off, or has already sold off, most of the NHS, and is continuing to do so. I had an idea about this a few weeks ago. I don't know if this means anything. It's a bit embarrassing as well, actually, but I'm sure you'll enjoy my embarrassment. You know, when I was a boy, my mum left me at home one day, and she left this apple stew. It was a bit like a puree, and she left it in the fridge in a bowl, and I thought I quite like that apple stew thing, and it's cold in the fridge. So I went to the fridge, and I thought I'd cut a slice of it out, you know, like a cake, and then I ate it. Oh, it's so nice. But then I realised it just sunk down. It wasn't like because it's a puree, you know what I mean? It wasn't the hard things, it went down. And then I thought, well, she won't even notice that I'd eaten that bit. So I took another slice out, and then I thought, well, it's about a third less. So I could do another one. So, and then it got to sort of halfway down, and then a third was left. And I thought, actually, what I should do is just finish it all up, right? And then wash the bowl, put it away, and she'll forget that she'd even made it. She'll forget she'd even made it, you know, like make my mum think she's got Alzheimer's, you know, as my way round being greedy. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is I think that's exactly what's happened with the NHS. They've spooned off a little bit of it. This bit of it, they've taken that bit out, and then they'll take that bit out, and they'll take this bit out, and as if we won't notice it. And then at the end, there'll just be this logo with NHS and no Apple in there whatsoever. And that's what they're doing, and they're doing it in a really slow way that we don't notice it. And the person who's taught me all about this, and is probably going to depress everyone here tonight, you said it, Bob, is Dr Bob Gill. Please give Dr Bob Gill a round of applause.
Thanks, Crispin. First of all, can we have a round of applause for Crispin and all the hard work he does? Now, because you are all very reliable listeners to Crispin's show, you know everything about the NHS. Yeah? There's going to be a quiz later, right, Crispin? But fundamentally, what it boils down to is, irrespective of political party, there is a public treasure trove which the corporations want to get their hands on. And the NHS is just a conduit from getting from the taxpayer to corporate profit. That's the way you need to think about it. And the dialogue the three main parties have is just a charade. In fact, the politicians are interchangeable. In order to qualify for a leadership of a political party, you need to lie convincingly and do the bidding of global financial capital interests. That is it. The pity is that people like Starmer were given credibility by being in part of the Corbyn government. That's the problem. And he lied. I wasn't convinced by his lies, but he lied convincingly. He even persuaded some people who have endured hours of me talking about the NHS to say that Starmer would be different. It's unbelievable. And this is a demonstration of hope over logic. And hope it's very addictive, but it can be blinding. And if we keep hoping without a vehicle for actual practical change, then it's actually a waste of time. Just a recent issue that I became aware of in the last week. It's a demonstration of how organisations are co-opted. There's an organisation called the British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, BAPIO. And they made a bit of a name for themselves in terms of fighting for doctors and consultants who felt they were racially discriminated against. Now, the government have managed to co-opt BAPIO into a scheme whereby they will employ doctors from India without having to pass the exams and without having to go through the rigmarole of the GMC, which is, you have to pass your exams, you've got to have all your paperwork, you've got to prove competence. They're going to be able to shortcut all those safeguards and be employed in the NHS whilst British-born, British graduates are unemployed. Right? So we saw this with the miners, we saw this with manufacturing. What they're doing is basically bringing in a cheaper workforce to replace the workforce that exists in this country. Now, if there wasn't a more blatant tearing up of the social contract than that, having doctors and nurses unemployed with thousands, tens of thousands of pounds of student debt, well, I don't know what is. Now, can you imagine the state of a young doctor who's got £100,000 worth of student debt, thinking there was some societal contract and he'd be able to work and his skills are required, but there's no job for him? Yet the governments tell us, the politicians tell us, there's not enough doctors, it takes 10 years to train. No, these are lies. This is what Crispin's allowed me to expose on his show, the web of lies. They've created deliberate bottlenecks in terms of consultant training posts. For every GP training post, there are 3 applicants. So this is a deliberate blocking of training. And now they've got a wheeze of bringing in a replacement workforce on top of getting non-doctors such as physicians associates and others to be seeing you in your time of need. So the situation, I know I promised not to be depressing, Crispin, but you know the story about leopard and spots, right? So despite everything we think is going on, actually the situation is progressing quite rapidly and quite dramatically if you're able to see what's happening. But we have a problem with our media, don't we?
Oh, yes.
Anybody here still watch the BBC News and believe every word they... Yeah? There's always one. Speak to me afterwards. But it's strange because, you know, we're knowledgeable about certain things, like the destruction of the welfare state. But when the BBC tells us about cultural issues, or when the BBC tells us that it's a good idea to scrap farmland and put solar panels on there, and then release chemicals to diminish the effect of sunlight, we need to start asking ourselves, why do we distrust all their lies on the health service, but we believe the lies on other issues, right? And there was a movement after the 2008 financial crash. They were running out of things to keep us divided, right? So they cook up things which are culturally divisive, which people like us, we naturally want to defend people who we think are being victimized, and that is weaponized against us. And this is an Achilles heel that I've been guilty of. I've learned, actually, I need to rethink about stuff. And one thing we are in danger of is limiting our sources of information. So apart from Crispin, he is essential listening, especially the guests he has on. But, so for example, do we distrust every word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth? Or is he capable of saying some truth in a way that we never hear from any other politician? For example, he said to Zelensky in the White House, "You are provoking World War III." Now, does anybody here disagree with that? No. Right, but just because it's coming out of Donald Trump's mouth doesn't mean we can't use that to our advantage. Yeah? Now, I'm not sure if people have been following the US aid scandal. People know about the US aid scandal? It turns out that this government-funded slush fund was going around the world, controlling the world's media and sowing seeds of societal dysfunction and breakdown. Well, I've got news for you guys. They do it in this country as well, right? And you have people like George Soros, who funds organizations which are very selective about the news that they're willing to put out. And I'll give you a personal example of this. So I was in talks with, I won't say the name because it's being recorded, but I was in talks with a group which I later found out was Soros funded. And I spoke to 3 journalists over a period of 2 hours with 2 colleagues supporting me with evidence over Zoom, at the end of which they were shocked and couldn't wait to get onto the story about NHS privatization because it was all news to them. Until the call came from the top that we are not going with this story because it doesn't favor the financial interests of the backers of that news organization. So that story got buried. So we are constantly being manipulated, most blatantly by the BBC, whereby the only way you can get some truth out on the BBC as a non sort of high-profile figure like myself, the only way you can get truth out on it is if you're giving a live interview. Because if you're part of a panel, they pre-screen you. So in recent weeks, they rang me up to talk about assisted dying and there was a rationing debate that was happening. Again, I spent an hour or so on the phone talking to journalists, educating them, saying, look, have you seen this, have you seen that? This is how it's going to affect your care and your family's care. And they were very interested. Those journalists are very interested. But then they drop you from the interview. So I have many personal examples of how the mainstream media totally block dissenting views. So this is happening, but it's only, you have to be willing to engage in a wide variety of sources to sense for yourself, is there some truth here? Can I pick out the truth and abandon the nonsense? So I'll give you a couple of names that I think I've learned a lot from. In fact, the comedians seem to be very politically astute and they can smell bullshit from a mile off. Jimmy Dore is a comedian who's been very accurate about his take on US politics, and we are a carbon copy of US politics. Let's not beat around the bush. We have 2 parties that serve the financial establishment. They don't serve us. Anybody here think they're serving us in any way whatsoever? So we're seeing a draconian clamp down on free speech. I'm a victim of that as well as many others here. Not in such deep water, but there is a push against my registration from UK Lawyers for Israel for the stuff I've posted on social media. We see in Germany the sort of arresting of activists. We see the EU banning supposedly right-wing people in Hungary from having elections. So the stakes are getting higher and higher across Europe in terms of free speech. Another person I want to mention, so I mentioned Jimmy Dore, another guy is Mike Bence. I don't know if you've heard of him. So Mike Bence worked within the national security apparatus, and he explains how the CIA, the FBI, USAID, all these organizations are basically a tool for statecraft to get every country in the world to act in the US interest. But he says nothing on Israel. So I don't think he's perfect. They have selected areas of absolute silence. Now the decimation unfolding in Palestine is a litmus test to judge people. And very recently, what's his name? Jordan Peterson, the academic psychologist, psychiatrist guy, who's currently doing the rounds telling everybody, if you have a view that criticizes Israel, you are mentally ill.
Every accusation is a confession.
So, exactly. So, in fact, this issue is very helpful to us, yeah, in terms of seeing who the liars are, seeing who the establishment actors are, because there is also a movement of, particularly on social media, of key figures whose sole function is to get a big following so they can redirect them to support the US and to support Israel. So 90% of what they say you might agree with, but then the sting comes in the tail of that 10%. Don't criticize Israel, everything they do is perfect, and it's all self-defense. So the reason I'm telling you this is, unless you hear wider views, you might not get the understanding, for example, of the deep state that Mike Bence has given me, but I'm very conspicuous of what he doesn't talk about. And another name I will mention is Whitney Webb. Anybody heard of Whitney Webb? So Whitney Webb is an amazing intellect. Whenever I've heard her talk, you think, how does she retain all this information? But she's written a book called Nation Under Blackmail, and it links Epstein to the US and Israeli security state. And her thesis, which she's evidenced in her 2-volume book, is how, in order to keep control of politicians, you need a blackmail network. Now, blackmail is the oldest trick in the book. So if you have compromising evidence on the political elites across the West, then you can control the political agenda. So those are just a few thoughts to keep a broader horizon in terms of where you listen, but maintain a critical and objective approach to it all. And hopefully I haven't left you all too depressed. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Gill, Dr. Bob Gill. I'll have to talk to you about. Look, I want to get as many people to speak as possible. So, look, I've been really impressed. I'm sure a lot of us have been impressed by the community camp down at the US Embassy. They've been doing a lot down there. They were attacked a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to hear from Samira from the camp about what's going on and what she thinks about the situation. Thank you, Samira.
Thank you so much, Crispin. It's really a big honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us. It's great to see so many familiar faces and many faces that we are yet to meet and see and know more about each other. The community camp for Palestine, as Crispin just said, it's in the pavilion just by the river opposite to the US Embassy. We've been there since the 1st of September, day and night, 24 hours a day. We've survived the cold winter, we've survived aggressions, but we're still there and we intend to stay there for as long as they let us. Yes, I mean, please come and visit us, you will be more than welcome. But I wanted to talk to you about two things, I think, and this is completely improvised, I wasn't expecting to speak. The first thing is that in my lifetime as an activist for Palestine, I think we are at our weakest point in terms of our leadership, the Palestinian leadership. And this is not because we as a people are weak, it's because we've been targeted with assassinations, imprisonment, division. But even though this is the case, our people have showed steadfastness like no one in the world. Also, for the first time in our history, we, the Palestinians, feel like everybody is behind us, everybody is supporting our cause. They've been doing so for over 17 months. This is the first time this has happened for 100 years. And I want to thank you all for that. And just listening to the previous speakers, that reminded me that what we are seeing today in Palestine, all the killing, the land grabs, everything that you know about, is only one piece of a puzzle. It's only one piece of a puzzle of a very big picture that affects every single one of us here, outside in the street, further on, in the whole planet. Our ruling elite and the corporations, all they want is to rule us. They want to make fewer of us. We are disposable for them. Yeah. And all they want to do is just to become richer and richer and maybe go and build a new colony in Mars. So let's not let them do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Samira. Round of applause for Samira and the community camp. Now we've got lots more people I'd like to speak. Clare Rogers, are you up for speaking? I don't want to spring it on you too much. Clare Rogers is the mother of one of the Filton 18, if you must have heard of the Filton 18.
Just to confuse everyone, I've recently decided that I'm Claire Hinchcliffe, but Zoe is still Zoe Rogers, so maybe it's a shame I'm not keeping her name. Thank you very much to everyone here. I'm aware there's lots of people, some I know of and many that I don't, in this room who have spoken up for the Filton 18. I've met Yale for the first time tonight, which is a great pleasure. And others of you have as well. For those who don't know, and sorry, I say that thanks on behalf of me, but also on behalf of the family and friends of the Filton 18. We're a close-knit group, all fighting together. So thank you from all of us, and especially to you, Crispin. For those who don't know about the Filton 18, these are 18 people, all in prison on remand, in connection with one thing: an action against Elbit Systems, Israel's largest weapons manufacturer, in Filton, Bristol. This is back in August last year. 6 of them, including my daughter Zoe, got into their multi-million-pound facility in Filton and damaged, this is meant to be a research and development facility. What they found in there, packaged up, ready for export, were the vile quadcopter drones that we've seen used in Gaza. They got into those and they smashed them with their The response has been absolutely brutal. So my daughter was arrested on site with the other 5. The other 12, are rounded up by counter-terrorism police, violent raids, up to 30 officers at a time, bursting into family homes, handcuffing children, damaging property, smashing in doors and windows, taking laptops, things that were needed for people's livelihoods, leaving trauma. One man was arrested with 4 guns pointed at his head. So they have become a test case for the government to see just how much repression they can get away with. Keep your eye on the Filton 18 because they represent something that is happening to everyone in this country. This is about everybody's freedom. They're using the Terrorism Act against them. Even though they're not charged with terror offences, they're saying there is a terrorism connection, and they are using that to justify all kinds of oppression, including the refusal of bail for all 18. My daughter was arrested in August last year. She's been in prison for 8 months. She had her 21st birthday in HMP Bronzefield. By the time she faces trial, it would have been 17 months. 17 months in prison without trial. The legal limit is 6. So let's see. It turns out our government will do pretty much anything to protect Israeli interests and to defend its precious weapons manufacturer. What is that about? So that's just a little recap of who the Filton 18 are. I just want to say what I've learned on a particular issue here. So Zoe has educated me in many, many ways. I've been on a big learning curve. For instance, before her action, I had never heard of Elbit Systems. I didn't know that we had an Israeli weapons manufacturer in this country. It turns out we have many Elbit Systems facilities and other weapons manufacturers. And we, of course, as you all know, we are exporting arms to Israel. And as these things have been explained to me, and I've done a bit of research about Elbit, I've listened to a few talks by Andrew Feinstein, so I've learned a lot from that. And the 2 things that come into my mind are, first of all, the obscenity of the arms industry, especially when it arms a genocide, when it profits from the death of children, marketing its products as battle-tested because they have been used to kill Palestinians. And I picture it as a repulsive beast. You know those beasts in Revelation that come out of the sea? That's what I picture when I think of the arms industry, especially Elbit Systems. The second thing that has really been impressed on me is the courage of Palestine actionists who have taken incredible risks. I hope it goes without saying I am very, very proud of my daughter. I wrote a poem. Is it all right if I read it to you? Okay. So it looks very long, doesn't it? It's called Who Will Slay the Elbit Beast? Where did it come from, this vile thing? It must have crawled out of the North Atlantic depths while we were all asleep. And now it's here, growing viler and more bloated by the year. And while it's too disgusting to describe, I can tell you there's an orifice beneath its tail that pumps out bombs and drones and piles of stinking cash for anyone who can stand the smell. Its face is too hideous to see. Think of something like a baby's brain hanging from its bombed-out skull. But we don't have to look at it. It's screened off behind the shiny websites, officers and names. Lockheed Martin, Raphael, British Aerospace, and Elbit Systems, pride of Israel. Offering solutions, security, and of course, defense. and other polished forms of deadly excrement. It's groomed and fed by the billionaires it's made and the politicians it controls. It has many, many mouths, and as each one shrieks for more, ministers disembowel their budget and feed it with our money that was intended for the poor. When they meet behind closed doors, world leaders aren't discussing security or peace. They're only middle-ranking sales reps doing deals for the beast. What does this creature want from us? A world of endless war, austerity and death, ruled by a handful of the super rich? Do this chosen few not realise that when the ship goes down, the beast will feast on their flesh too? Who will slay this monster? The long arc of the universe bends in unexpected ways, bringing justice, not through politicians, judges or police, but through our children, armed with not much more than courage and outrageous love, who go into the monster's lairs, poke it with their sticks, pull its tail, and crack its teeth. They get rounded up, arrested and detained, but more of them return in waves. It doesn't matter that this monster meets weekly with police or that puppets in their wigs and gowns call them terrorists and send them down. The authorities cannot compete with those who don't fear prison if a child's life is saved. And each time it's poked, the monster roars and rises up, so at last its belly, swollen with the blood of innocence, becomes exposed to public view and ends all talk of self-defense. One day in the future, when its rotted corpse has long been thrown back in the sea, they will say it was our children. They will know it was our children. They will sing about our children who slayed the Elbit beast. You're trying to make me cry. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate that. I want to say one more little tiny thing before I sit down. Separate subject. When this had all happened, and it's been a very raw place, I met a young man in conversation who's in Gaza. Mohammed lives in Gaza with his family. And he walked us right into my heart, really. He asked for help, and we became friends. We were on the phone or messaging several times a week. He's the same age as Zoe, and he feels like a family member. And I've been trying to support him and his family financially in any way that I can. And I followed his troubles. His house was bombed. He moved from Gaza City, he's displaced to tents in the south. When the ceasefire happened, they moved back to Gaza City and they tried to live in the remains of their home. They were displaced again. And the sad thing is, he recently told me, just this week, he's been clinging to the idea of rebuilding his home, basically. All he can think about is when the war is over, we will return to Gaza City. We will rebuild our home from the inside out. Last week, the Israeli army completely levelled what was left of his home. So I've talked about doing a fundraiser, and he says to him, the fundraiser is the only thing giving him hope. You know, he's seen other people do successful fundraisers, and he's just said, I think about it every day. It's my only hope that one day I'll be able to rebuild my home. So I've got this insane target of £100,000 to send to Mohammed in Gaza. So that he has hope to build his family home after the war. So I have a fundraiser. Come and find me after this. Make a very generous donation. And then give me the phone numbers of all your rich friends. And that will be very helpful. Thank you very much. Free Palestine! Free the Filton 18! Thank you.
A round of applause for Clare. Now we've got lots of different groups here. We've got Palestine Pulse here today. I'd love to hear from Palestine Pulse. Would you come up and speak? Hamid. A round of applause, please. Free!
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Hamid and I am with Pal Pulse. First of all, thank you so much, Crispin, for the invitation. And it's such an honor to be with many of you, comrades who have been standing courageously and supporting our cause and our Palestine justice demands. Many of you have stood undeterred in the face of the country fascism, our government, and have shown resilience. So I would like to keep it short. So what's Pal Pulse? So we are a British Palestinian grassroots movement. We are the grandsons of the Nakba. And we uphold the Thawabit. Now, what are the Thawabit? Thawabit is basically its constants. So our constants for the struggle are very, very well known to the Palestinians, and they are mostly to do with the full liberation of Palestine, with the return of refugees, and of course with the dismantlement of the Zionist apartheid. We are very well known for our energy, our protest, as well as our visuals and musical performances. However, we do have other things as well. One of the new initiatives that we have started is an initiative that has to do with the protesters and the clamping down on them by the police. Now, as we can tell, many of our comrades have been arrested. Most of them have been NFA'd or had no charge against them. And this is something that we thought that should be addressed. So we have started a legal campaign with the help of a solicitor firm which specializes in police misconduct and protest law. It is a no-win, no-fee campaign. So if anyone thinks that they qualify, please reach out to us. So far, we have more than about 10, 15 people who have been accepted by the solicitors to be acted on the cases, and it is growing. So we are very proud of this, and essentially, we want to make sure that this misconduct can be stopped, legally, because it's a need that no one has actually addressed properly, proportionately. The other thing that we individually support is the Gaza community. There is about 500 families who arrived from Gaza and West Bank since October 23. These people need a lot of support, emotional support. They need a lot of psychological support as well as financial support. Unfortunately, they have been blind spotted by the government, by so-called organizations, and they need a lot of help. It is a growing project. We aim to start a charity sometime soon, so I urge everybody to come and support at a later stage once it's all starting to run up. So I think I will probably just conclude here. And thank you so much. We will continue our struggle, our fight here in the UK, and we know that we will be together on the road to freedom. Thank you.
Free! Thank you very much. Now we've got as we mentioned, people are being arrested and treated terribly by the authorities, and it's not just those people who've been arrested; it's people intimidated that they might be arrested. There's a lot of intimidation going on, and the people that I need to hear from in this kind of situation are those who've faced it and have gone through it and have used their two fingers when they've come out from it. And I think there's one person I can see at the moment who epitomises that, and that's Yael Khan. So I'd like. Would you be able to speak for a minute, Yael? Oh, she doesn't know. A round of applause for Yael Khan. Sorry, I keep you busy.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to show the police that we are not intimidated. Yes. Yeah. As we shout that we will not be intimidated, we really mean it. We really need to show them, because we know what is at stake, and by far is more important. It's the life of the babies in Gaza who are starved to death, who have their head chopped off, their hands chopped off. That's what matters to us, and that's why. So it's not very pleasant being in a police cell. It's not recommended best accommodation. I'm sure some of you have experienced better than that. But, you know, Palestinian prisoners in Megiddo prison, for example, they are being starved to death. It's not only in Gaza. Palestinian citizens, Palestinian prisoners from the occupied West Bank, they are starved to death in prisons inside Israel. So it's not just in Taiman, it is every Israeli prison. The prisoners are being starved, and some of them are already dying, like a guy, a 17-year-old, died from starvation. And the description of his body was like Holocaust survivors. So we need to make reference to the Holocaust, because the genocide of Gaza, the extermination of the Palestinians, is allegedly as somehow is a response to the Holocaust. It is not. It is not. And the only thing that is related to the Holocaust is what Israel is doing is like the Nazis. And I will go to the police and I will carry on saying that Israel is Nazi. And we will never be silent. And thanks to the amazing activists here, free, Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! And we know we are going to continue fighting, because there are so many activists here who put their body on the line. And thank you, everybody, for what you're doing, because we are a community. We are fighting for Gaza. We are fighting for the Palestinians. We are fighting against genocide and against the Holocaust. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I want to ask Youssef, would you come up? Because the thing is that some of the stories of these arrests and the way the police have been behaving is outrageous. I mean, Wassim Youssef was clearly assaulted on camera by the police, and everybody's seen the footage. Yet after they had dropped their so-called internal investigation, they then charged him with assault. I mean, this is outrageous, and then this is the most uplifting thing. Sorry to embarrass you, but talking about you next to you. But then at the Old Bailey and at the protest about a few weeks ago, the police decided to target him and try to bundle him in the back of a van. And they did so, but everyone there, or many people there, all surrounded the van, and they couldn't move it. And they couldn't move it at all. They tried going forward, they tried going back. And eventually they had to go in and say, "Oh, do you mind going out now?" or something like that. No, I just want to, will you just say a few words? Wassim Youssef, round of applause for Wassim Youssef. Woo!
Thank you, and thank you. Love you all, thank you so much. State repression, police brutality, I should know. I've suffered it time and time again. Constantly, they attack me, brutalize me, they beat me, they assault me, they detain me, and then release me and say, NFA, no further action, we're done with you, you can go. You know, it's absolutely disgusting, and this is all happening because I raised the Palestine flag in solidarity with the children of Gaza. I will never stop raising that flag, never. Thank you, guys. Just going to read a poem out that I've read on a couple of occasions before. It is about Gaza. The poem is written by James Baldwin, and it says, about every bombed village is my hometown. And every dead child in Gaza is my child. Every grieving mother in Gaza is my mother. Every crying father is my father. Every home turned to rubble is the home that I grew up in. Every brother carrying the remains of his brother across the borders is my brother. Every sister waiting for a sister to come home that never comes back is my sister. Every one of these people are our people, like we are their people. We belong to them, they belong to us. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for Wasim Youssef. And you know, there's so many groups campaigning for Palestine that I've met. Just extraordinary people who just go out of their way to speak out and are not intimidated. And this is the kind of thing we need. More people to be that tenacious and courageous. Now, IJAN is another example. I mean, IJAN. Outside the Israeli ambassador's residence in Swiss Cottage, then moved out to the tube station at Swiss Cottage, then constantly doxed and intimidated by Zionists all around there. You know, arrests after arrests. You know, you've had Haim Brashit in his 80s taken to the police station, not given his medication, and he's being treated for cancer. I mean, what sort of state are we in? But they keep going. They keep going, and the police tried to move them to King's Cross, I think, and then they went to the police instead. They thought, oh, you want us to go to King's Cross? We'll go to your headquarters, and they're still there. And then they've worked with the U.S. Embassy, Solidarity, the camp there. And I just want to invite someone from IJAN. Have got a massive table here, so it's got to be one of you to speak. Who's going to speak? Go, keep clapping. Come on.
Hi, comrades. I just want to say a huge thanks to Crispin. You know, you have given us the voice on your show, Crispin, and all of us, I think so many of us have been on your show. You talk about us, and you keep the issue of Palestine and Gaza in the public consciousness. And thank you for that. And you too have faced your own issues about this. And it comes for all of us. I think we all feel this from our families, our friends, our communities. So thank you. Yes, comrades, we've had an interesting journey at picketing Hotovelli, that monster who lives in Avenue Road in Swiss Cottage. And we were banned from outside our house, and then we went to the library. They banned us from the library to outside the tube station. We were viciously attacked on the 21st of February, by a combination of Zionists and fascists. Please note, the coming together of Zionism and ultra-right in this country, this is where we're headed. And it's so, so important that we remember this. And then the week after, they didn't ban the fascists and the Zionists, they banned us. Typical fashion. So we then went outside New Scotland Yard, and we've been there, and we've been down to the community camp. Our wonderful comrades at the camp have been amazing, and it's so, so good to meet you and to get to know you better. So comrades, I just wanted to share with you also that, you know, IJAN is not on its own. And sitting at our table, we have representatives and members of an amazing group of comrades, women of color in the global women's strike. And if I can usurp your role for 1 minute, Crispin, if you wouldn't mind giving them a minute or two to say something, I think that would be great. But without their help and their constant support, they have been there every single week with us, every week. They were there before I even joined IJAN in late December 23. So I really want to thank them because without them we wouldn't have kept going. So comrades, just a couple more things. I want to emphasize the importance of anti-Zionism in the struggle. You know, you can probably hear I'm South African by birth. The struggle in South Africa and the solidarity movement was called the anti-apartheid struggle, anti-apartheid movement. The struggle in Palestine is not called the anti-Zionist movement, it's called the Palestine Solidarity Movement. But Zionism is the key to it. And we need to be anti-Zionist. The whole movement must be anti-Zionist. This is the rotten, racist, imperialist, settler colonial ideology which is driving that country to where it is today. It is the logical conclusion of settler colonialism. You end up in ethnic cleansing and genocide. So we must speak about it, and I would urge every single one of you in all your campaigning, big up anti-Zionism. And the thing is, it enables us not to fall into the trap of anti-Semitism. They hate it. The Zionists hate it when you call out their Zionism, because they cannot say, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. They will try and conflate it, but we can say we are not being anti-Semitic, we are anti-Zionist, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, whatever. If you support the settler colony and apartheid in Palestine, you're a Zionist. White, black, Christian, Buddhist, we don't care. You're a Zionist and we're against you. The other thing I just briefly wanted to share with you is, with my other hat on, I'm also a healthcare worker, and one of the campaigns we are very involved in at the moment is defending healthcare workers who are being victimized for false anti-Semitism in the NHS. There is a concerted campaign by the Jewish Medical Association, which should actually be called the Zionist Medical Association, because that is their entire agenda, and others, to silence any solidarity within the NHS. And I would ask you, if there are any healthcare workers here, support this campaign, but you as ordinary people, as patients in the NHS, we have lost clinicians to this witch hunt. For example, there is a consultant neurologist who's based up in the north, who's been suspended for 18 months. She's out of work. The waiting list, the waiting time for first neurology appointments is 48 weeks. So the NHS hierarchy is so in bed with the Zionist agenda, it will suspend consultants who have no concerns about her clinical work. It's only because she had the cheek to speak out against the genocide. They suspend her, so people, all of you and all of us, wait longer for our appointments. We're going to FOI this and find out exactly how much clinical time has been wasted. So please, comrades, support that campaign, support our colleagues in the NHS, and thank you again, and free, free Palestine!
Thank you, John. Would you like to come and speak?
Hi, thank you very much, Crispin. My name is Chrissy, and I'm with my sisters here, women of colour in the Global Women's Strike. Sarah, Shoda, and thank you, John, because often the work that we do as women is invisible, and yet so many of the justice movements are led by women globally. And I want to say, we are on that picket, that weekly picket, because it is our children, our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, our grannies who are being slaughtered in Palestine. We are them and they are us. So that is why we have to go, and we have gone. And we have been part of the Palestinian resistance. We are part of the resistance in Congo, in Sudan, in Yemen, in Syria, in Haiti. Wherever they are trying a genocide, we are there to resist and defeat it. And we are so glad that there is an anti-Zionist Jewish network that is speaking out. That is a protection for us as women of colour. It's a protection against what we have been accused of, anti-Semitism. You know, the shit that has brought down the Labour Party of John McDonnell and Jeremy Corbyn, that could have won something if they hadn't sold us all down the river, that movement that we were, that they built and that they never called on. Okay, that tells us party politics are dead. And we have to do it ourselves. And we can do it ourselves. This is what we are seeing across the world. In my lifetime, there's never been a movement like this. Yes, we fought against the Vietnam War. Yes, we did a whole set of things to try and help the liberation movements in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America. But this is in every country of the world. The resistance in support of the Palestinian people is not going to die. It cannot be killed. You cannot kill this spirit. We will prevail, and Palestine will be free, and Palestine will win, and the people will return to their lands.
Right, it's fantastic speeches we're having. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of the next person to speak. Does anyone want to make a speech? Anyone want to come up? Yeah, if you like. Yeah. Shall I move? Do you want a chair? Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. Thank you. I'll leave you to it.
Hello, I'm Mary Ellen. I'm part of Deepak, but I'm part of this world. And I want to say some things about Deepak, but I want to say about how it's all interconnected. That this is not about disability, the attacks on the welfare system, the cuts to disability benefits. It's Ellen Clifford, who wrote a book about it all called The War on Disabled People. Is so much more eloquent and so much more knowledgeable than I am. But as she said in her, one of the last speeches I heard from her, this is not about disability, this is about class. This is a class war. And the class war is not just in this country, it's across the entire planet. Recently, I was out somewhere and someone asked me where I was from. And I surprised myself by saying, I'm from Palestine. I'd never considered ever saying that. It just came out. And perhaps because in my heart I feel that when they expunged Palestine from our Google Maps and from the maps of the world, they turned the entire world into Palestine. We are all Palestinians. And when they battle test those weapons on our disabled community in Palestine, on our children, on our families in Palestine, they're battle testing it to be used on us. When is it our turn? And what will we do when it's our turn? And who will stand with us? This is about all of us, not just some of us. And all of us need to rise up. And for the first time in my life, on January the 1st, on New Year's Eve, my heart actually sang. It wept and it sang. Because for the first time in my life, I saw people across the world unite and stand for one thing: peace and Palestine. A free Palestine is a free world. When we free Palestine, we free the truth and we free the world. When we manage to stop the war machine killing our children and people in Palestine, we are then able to stop the war machine everywhere in the world. So when people say, well, what about the Congo? What about Yemen? What about China? What about Simla? What about any of these places? They're all connected. When we manage to stop the war machine in one place, we have found our voice and we have stood in our power and we've realized that this is all of us or none of us. This is not just about genocide, this is about ecocide, it's about every species on the planet being attacked. We're all interconnected. All of life is interconnected. The people who are doing what they're doing to our welfare state, to our NHS, to Palestine, they're the same people for the same reason of greed and money. And they've always used division to control, to exploit, to colonize, to imperialize. Whatever they were doing, they've always depended on our division. Oh, it's those refugees. Oh, it's those immigrants. Oh, it's those women. It's those disabled people. It's those. No, there's none of those. It's all of us. When we stand united, they cannot and will not win. We will. I wrote a poem about money because in the end, I see that all of the thing that's connecting it all is money. Because if there was no money, they would not be committing ecocide. If there was no money in it, they would not be committing genocide. They would not be drilling for more oil when they've got more than enough. They wouldn't be digging for more gold when they've already got vaults full of gold. It all comes down to money and division and fear. We need to respond with a cashlessness. They want a cashless society so that they can control us. And until we can, we need to keep using cash and thinking about cash being king rather than the plastics that they want to push onto us. But in the end, everything good that is done in this world is done not for money, done for love, done for our empathy, for our humanity and our compassion. So if you wouldn't mind, can I read my poem to you? This one's called Money. Excuse me, change glasses. Okay. Money talks and money silences. Money buys souls and forges alliances. Money walks the corridors of power. Money bleeds us all, hour by hour. Money enacts laws to corrupt and steal. Money thinks nothing of a dodgy deal. Money has claws that reach far and wide. Money makes hideaways for secrets to hide. Money affronts and money assuages. Money exploits, and money pays wages. Money enslaves, and money sets free. Money controls and writes history. Money leaves millions to starve or freeze. Money makes the guilt of a prince's sleeve, hides the guilt of a prince's sleeves. Money excludes and money others. Money makes enemies of our sisters and brothers. Money starts wars and money kills. Money decimates our forests, waters and hills. Money pollutes and money extracts. Money corrupts and money exacts. Money for the wealthy is a divisive tool. Money separates us all, fool from fool. Money destroys and money makes whole. Money will grasp at your very soul. Money commits murder in plain sight. Money denies justice to those in the right. Money, they say, makes the world go around. Money instead raises life to the ground. Money is man's greatest illusion and folly. Money affords the rich space travel for a jolly. Money is amassed by the insatiably needy on the backs of the poor whom they call greedy. Money enables charity, calling it hope. Money provides the hangman's rope. Money as an invention is a gift from hell. Money enchants and binds us under its spell. Money seems like a blessing, but is a curse. Money inflames greed, hate, and so much worse. Money talks, and money silences. Money betrays and breaks alliances. Money stalks the corridors of power and kills us all, hour by hour. Thank you. I'll finish with one last thing, and that's to remind you that DPAC is a thorn in this government's side and previous government side, because they fight back. They refuse to be broken. Even though they're killing us in our hundreds of thousands, we are still standing up and fighting. So please join DPAC. They're not fighting just for disabled people. They're fighting for all of us, for all of you, because these welfare cuts are coming for all of us, just like the bombs that they're spending in Palestine are coming for us too. We all can stand up with DPAC. On Tuesday, there's an action. Look up DPAC's website, look up their socials, find out what the action is, join in. On 21st of May, there's another one. And in between, please lobby your MP and tell them we do not accept them killing us, not by their assisted suicide bill, not by their cuts, not by their austerity, not by a single one of their words and deeds. We will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we've got some special. We've got a few speakers left. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So for a start, I mean, what about this for a speaker? Stephen Kapos. Me to hold this.
Yeah, it would be, if you could hold it for me, because hello, everybody, and I am Stephen Kapos, a Holocaust child survivor of the Holocaust. I was 7 years old when the Germans and Eichmann reached my hometown, Budapest. And my main message really today is that Holocaust and genocides don't fall out of the blue sky. And there is a process. There is a process of decline and subversion. In Hungary, the Hungarian right and later the fascists were very proud that Hungary was the first country in Europe to introduce racist legislation, the so-called numerus clausus, which meant that they made a distinction between Jews and non-Jews, and only so many Jews could enter a profession or a university in a particular year. This was preceding Mussolini, and they were very proud of that. But that was just the beginning. And whilst this affected a number of people, including my father, who was studying medicine, and he had to do 1 year in Prague because they weren't allowed, he wasn't allowed in a Hungarian university. That wasn't a very bad year, he said. He liked it in Prague. But anyway, that was just the beginning. And when the war reached Hungary, there were more severe laws passed, and ever accelerating way. And it descended into, eventually, full-blown fascism and mass murder. It's a process. And we have to be very careful what is the direction of travel right now. Because there are signs that the growing intimidation and the attack on free speech and protest is taking us in a direction which ultimately could be fascism. And it is now that we have to resist, at the beginning. I would like to read a poem which is written by a Hungarian poet who was himself a victim of the Holocaust. His name is Miklós Radnóti, and he was called up into one of these ancillary units attached to the Hungarian and German armies. They were Jewish detachments. They're actually slave labor. They had to wear a yellow armband to denote them as Jews, and they were used for the most dangerous operations like mine clearing, and abused very badly, and sometimes subject to these death marches from one place to another. He was, Radnóti himself was included in these marches, and eventually he was shot. He was shot, and his body was thrown into a mass grave, and after the war his body was exhumed, and in his jacket pocket they found poems about his Holocaust experience, bloodstained but still readable. And I would like to read one of them because it is a warning for us. In such an age I dwelt on earth, when men had fallen so beneath their nature that they unbidden for their lust would kill, and foaming stagger in the tangles of confusion, possessed by tainted creeds, bewildering by delusion. In such an age I dwelt on earth, when spies were honored, and the murderer, the traitor, and the thief were held as heroes. But he, whose zeal it seemed lacked voice and violence, would be abhorred as if he bore pestilence. In such an age I dwelt on earth, when he who would protest therefore must hide and gnaw his fist in bitterness and shame. That nation in the madness laughed and thought it good to taste such fatal horrors, drunk with filth and blood. In such an age I dwelt on earth, when to the child the mother was accursed. The woman who miscarried would rejoice, the live man envied the entombed and wormy dead, while on the table poison darkened, foamed and spread. In such an age I dwelt on earth, when the dumb poet must wait and hold his peace, hope for the day when he might find a voice. For none could here pronounce the dark, demanded verse, but that Asia, master of the fitting curse. Thank you.
Stephen Kapos, round of applause. Now look, we've got some great heroic people here tonight. We've got, unbelievably, we've got another Holocaust survivor here tonight. Agnes Corey is here. Can we have a round of applause for Agnes?
Thank you, Crispin. Thank you for all what you're doing. And I'd like to thank your 3 generations, although your daughter doesn't seem to be here anymore. I just wanted to say that I really appreciated your interview with your dad, which was absolutely astonishing. And then I saw your daughter today, your young daughter, whom I interviewed immediately. And I thought the future is in good hands. But that's just by the way. So, yes, my name is Agnes Corey, which sounds suspiciously like Corey. And sometimes I do get letters spelled like that, but no, it's K-O-R-Y. Like Stephen Kapos, I'm also a Hungarian Jewish child survivor, 7 years younger than Stephen, but I'm working on catching up with him. I'd like to just go back to Bob Gill, if I may. He was talking about the BBC, like the BBC who are lying, you can't trust them, etc., etc. I don't have to repeat what he said because you heard it. But Bob, can I just say that in my experience, the BBC is full of mediocre people at best. They don't know what they're doing. Nobody cares what they're doing. And I'm mentioning it because not only am I a Holocaust child survivor, a Jewish Holocaust child survivor, I'm also a voluntary Holocaust researcher and a music person, musicologist, music historian, music teacher. So I attended all 3 of the BBC's Holocaust Day concerts, celebrations. They provided an enormous amount of bad info, not because they deliberately did it, but because they are full of mediocre producers. They don't know, they don't care. I actually wrote to them about it even before the recordings were relayed. They made some changes. But anyway, this is my point, that they don't only lie, but they don't know what they're doing. And the other thing I would like to share with you, it's a very recent surprise for me. 2 days ago, I was utterly surprised. I haven't been able to talk to anybody about it, but you seem to be the ideal people to share this with you. Oh, there she is. Your daughter reappeared. Great. Many of the people who criticize Israel are accused of anti-Semitism. The accusation of anti-Semitism is so strong that a lot of Jewish people are genuinely afraid. Now, one of the age-old trope against Jews is that they don't really care about the country where they live. Their loyalty is for Israel. Now, personally, I think it's an anti-Semitic thought. It's not true. However, I watched some of the Yom HaShoah celebration 2 days ago. I don't know how many of you watched it. I didn't go, but I did watch some of it because I can only take about 5 minutes at a time. I saw a bit in the middle. I saw the end. I still can't believe it. I'm pinching myself. When they concluded Thursday night, the Yom HaShoah celebration, they sang the Hatikvah, which is the Israeli anthem. And after that, they sang the English national anthem. How better to manufacture anti-Semitism and say that Jews have loyalty to Israel and not to the UK. So see what I mean, Bob? How stupid many of our enemies are. Thank you for your appointment.
Thank you, Agnes. Now we've probably got. I know people have buses to catch or trains. The first thing I keep being told that there's a Filton 18 trial on Tuesday at the Old Bailey. Is that right? Friday. 2nd of May, Friday. Right, I just said Friday. Oh. Yeah, but Friday, 2nd of May, Old Bailey. 9:30. Right, we've all got that now. Now, look, I'd just like to invite Sabi Segal. Now, the thing is, imagine being in Starmer's constituency and seeing him walk by all the time. Sabi actually invited Starmer to speak at a rally for Palestine before the 2015 general election. And look, anyway, I'll leave it to you. Sorry, Sabi.
Yes, thank you very much, Crispin. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Yes, here another self-hating Jew, I'm afraid. Well, we all know the genocide against the people of Gaza, against the people of the Palestinian people of the West Bank continues apace. They want to complete the ethnic cleansing carried out in 1948, as you all know, when 3/4 of the Palestinian population were expelled at gunpoint. We hear a lot about Israeli comparison with apartheid, and Jonathan reminded us. But there is a difference with South Africa, you know, and I think it's important to be aware of that difference. In South Africa, the black working class was super exploited. Because they were super exploited, they were part of the society. The Palestinians were expelled. They were never included in the Zionist economy. And for that reason, they don't have the economic power that the South African black working class had, which means they depend even more on our solidarity. And it's events like this and shows like Crispin's every Sunday, which is really a huge uplift to watch every weekend, does give the Palestinians hope. They know what we do. They watch it, they hear from us, and everything we do for Palestine, all the solidarity work we do is extremely important to them. We've heard a lot about anti-Semitism and Israel as a solution to anti-Semitism. In fact, more Jews have died in Israel since the creation of the state in 1948 than anywhere else. More Jews have died in Israel since the Holocaust than anywhere else, and that's because of the way they have treated the Palestinian people. We mustn't despair. Our solidarity does have some effect. A few months ago, 30 arms export licenses were suspended by the British government. I think that would not have happened without all the magnificent national mobilizations every fortnight, every second Saturday, and all the local protests that we've seen up and down the country. What we need, though, is a complete arms embargo on Israel. And to that end, we must campaign against other targets. I'm chair of the Camden branch of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. We campaign against the local Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank invests billions of pounds of their savings, of their investor savings, in arms companies that are complicit with the genocide in Israel. We need to deepen the campaign to boycott Barclays Bank. Secondly, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign recently launched a new BDS campaign, Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions. A few of us in Camden, in the Camden branch, have been going into shops in Camden High Street and in Queen's Crescent, asking shopkeepers not to stock Israeli goods, not to stock Israeli products. I mean, it's a Muslim area, Camden, so we've had a very positive response. But this is something that everybody here can do. Go to your local PSC branch, get involved, and go out with them to the local Barclays Bank, demand that people withdraw their savings from Barclays, invest in another bank, and also go to the shops up and down the high streets, asking shopkeepers, cafe owners, restaurant owners, not to stop Israeli goods. My parents, and I'm going to finish on this, my parents were Russian Jewish refugees from Nazi Europe. Jews have suffered enormously in the last 150 years in Europe. We know about the pogroms in Eastern Europe in the late 19th century. We know about the Holocaust, etc., etc. But it is because I am a Jew that I stand with the Palestinian people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabi. John, do you want to speak? We've got one more speaker about a campaign that is not being highlighted very much. He spoke on the show on Zoom earlier this morning, and he said he'd like to raise this issue.
Thanks very much, Crispin. Wonderful to have you doing your program each week. It's just wonderful. My name is John Morris. I'm a member of the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. I've been a member of it since I was 16, 17. On Saturday, a number of us went to RAF Lakenheath, which is in fact an American base. It's one of the biggest American bases in Europe. And we sat there, stopped traffic going in and out. We sang. I dressed up as Mafia Don Trump. And I had 2 nuclear weapons between my legs. And I asked everyone around if they wanted any nuclear weapons, and beside me was a gentleman dressed up as Lord Starmer, and he was lucky. He had the Stars and Stripes over his shoulders, and he had also some weapons. But it's very, very important that we understand that coming to Britain, either through Biden, either through Trump, are guided nuclear weapons from America. They have nothing to do with NATO. They may become, as I say, under Biden's rule or Trump's rule. And it's something that we have to look into and understand. Is it because I actually wrote to Trump before he was elected and asked him if, in fact, he was responsible for the nuclear weapons. And I said, is it because our nuclear weapons are faulty, that they don't work properly, that you need to send us your guided nuclear weapons? But of course, he never replied. But please try and support anybody you know who is fighting against nuclear weapons, and especially Campaign for Nuclear Weapons. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Now we've got one more speaker, Annie, he does a lot on Instagram. If you've seen her, she's always on Instagram. She's always going like that, like she's got one of those Instagrams where she's got like a picture above her, and she's going, "Look at this and that." Oh, look at that. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing. But do you want to say something? You said you're going to round it off. Yeah.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So I am the last one to speak, so we're going to leave with a little bit of energy. And the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of words and the power that they have. And there's something that I've been thinking about that I wanted to share. So we always say, Palestine will be free. Yes? That's what we say. I'm going to say something controversial. I disagree. I think we should be saying, Palestine is almost free. And the reason I say that is we need to stop and look around at what's happening right now. Things are the worst they've ever been. But remember, ever since we were children, we were always told it will get worse before it will get better. And what we are seeing now, and I'm telling you, one of the things I love to do is I love to film the Zionists. I like to get up close and personal, and I have noticed the looks in their eyes. They are desperate, they are scared, and they are looking for any way to break us, but they're not doing it. They can't understand after they've had us arrested, beaten, doxed online, doxed in the newspapers, people have lost their jobs. The Filton 18 are sitting in prison. But have we shut up? No. Have we got louder? Yes. Are we going to get louder? Yes. Are we going to get stronger? Yes. When one of us falls, what are we going to do? Exactly. When they come for us, what are we going to do? Stand up, fight back. Come on, guys, you can do better than that. What are we going to do when they come for one of us? Stand up, fight back. What are we going to do when they try to break us down? What are we going to do? Stand up, fight back. What are we going to do when the police turn up at our Comrades' doors at 5 a.m. in the morning, knocking, taking everything, disturbing their animals? What are we going to do? So the one thing I have to say tonight is I've looked around this room and I do what I always do. I observe. I watch people, I interact with people, and I want to say there's a lot of people in this room that I know. Some of you I don't. But I want every single one of you here today to understand that I am proud of you. I am proud to stand next to you. I am proud to have humanity amongst my friends and what I now call my family. So tonight, I know we're all a bit sleepy because we've had some curry, we've listened to some speeches, but when we walk out of that door, we will walk out with vigor. We will walk out with our head up high because we know that we are doing the right thing. And when we walk out that door, we will find something better to do. We will do more. And when you go home tonight, do me a favor, everybody. Every single one of you, think about what you can do to improve what you already do. Who can you speak to? Who can you shout at? Who can you write to? Think of it. And I'm sure that every one of you amazing human beings has more inside of you to give. Because this movement will never, ever be silenced. And that is what they fear. They fear the roar that is coming from us. And this roar will get stronger. So when I say, forget Palestine will be free. What's the saying now? Palestine is? Okay, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. I was expecting a lion response there. Palestine! That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Good night. Everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you, Crispin. Love you all.
Right. There you go. The end. The end. Oh, yeah, and by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you've got to do this, what is it? Subscribe, like. All right, go on, do that bit. Come on, go on.
All right. Now I'm going to be a shameless hustler. If you have TikTok, you will find 2 accounts, because I have a backup. Annie.says and Annie.says2. If you're on Instagram, it's Annie.says2. And unfortunately, I've also recently levitated towards X, but that's only to dox the Zios. So if you want to see the Zionists getting doxed, it's Annie.says1 on X. So just type in Annie.says and you'll find me.
Well, that's her thing. Mine's YouTube. I'm thinking about subscribe and like, and share. Yeah, thank you. That and the other one is there's a national demo. I've been told on the 22nd. I can't. My numbers are all gone. 17th of May in London, the national demo. So look, if you're watching, thank you for watching, and thank you everyone for coming to the curry. Was it worth coming? Are you going to come to the next one? Right, okay. And you, if you're not here, you can come the next time, yeah?
Oh, you were here? Oh, no, so you there. Oh, but I really want, because once you've got the Piccadilly line, might as well stay on it. It doesn't take an hour.
Oh, it's a nice time to just meditate.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Listen, we've got some...